Howdy folks and welcome. I hope this finds you well. Today I'll be talking about every Terran unit in StarCraft and StarCraft Brood War. Terran units might seem generic, but there's a lot to explore, so let's get started. Sometimes I forget Blizzard was good at crafting lore. Each unit in StarCraft has a story to tell, not just as an individual, but as a part of the whole universe. Let's start with the Firebat.
That's what I thought.
Firebats are armored support for Marines. Outfitted with dual flamethrowers on their wrists and fire-resistant armor, they're very good at barbecuing a lot of things.
Firm but with little give. Yep, these are medium rare.
Interestingly enough, Firebats predate the Guild Wars, and if you're wondering what the Guild Wars were, well, check out my video on the history of the StarCraft races. It means humans were burning other carbon life forms before the Zerg and Protoss got there. Firebats also got their name during the Guild Wars due to an experimental jetpack system. Terran scientists honestly just strapped a backpack to a flame-throwing infantryman and said, "What does this look like?" I feel like the conversation was something like, "Sarge, what do we call this new thing?" "Well, Lester, what does it look like?" Looks like a bat on fire." See, that's where the name came from. Sometimes humans can just be simple. Another interesting piece of information that I found when researching the Firebat was how they store their fuel. I always thought they had tanks on their backs, but they actually use containment fields. Yes, those containment fields, the one from science vessels. It's a really cool little detail that I just never knew about. Just like Marines, Firebats are also taken or conscripted from the prison systems. These individuals go through a lot of procedures like neural resocialization and get implants for aggression behavior modules. I kind of feel bad for them, even though most of them are pyromaniacs. Even with the brutal initiation process, the Terran Dominion still use Firebats, and in their manual, quote, "are stable and reliable soldiers," end quote. This leads perfectly to the Marine, a staple for any large Terran army or local militia. Marines use a similar power armor to the Firebat, but with a lighter spec. Marines also carry a C-14 automatic rifle. Plus, their suits have life support and environmental protection, so going between planet to planet is a breeze. Marines do tend to die a lot since they are the frontline defense or offense. Just like the Firebat, Marines also go through a bunch of weird and disturbing experiments. Not only the neural resocialization, but a ton of drug therapy. Despite being able to take swaths of prisoners and genetically modify them, Marines were starting to pile up. A lot. And it wasn't unheard of that a law-abiding citizen would be taken into the ranks, albeit sometimes. It's probably because I don't have good Marine micro. And the zeitgeist is, at least for the colony Marines, that you're going to die, hence the stim packs. But then there's this little invention called the medic. No, not that medic. Not only was this a great gameplay introduction in Brood War, but it made sense lore-wise. The UED, and if you don't know who they are, check out the video. The UED have had medics on Earth for centuries. So when the Dominion sees the effectiveness of medics on the front lines, there's no choice other than to implement that. Medics in StarCraft are pretty badass, if you don't mind me saying. Equipped with light infantry armor, they have compartmental shields, stocked with trauma gear ranging from nanobots to lasers for surgery on the battlefield. Most medics also have an injector with nanobots for hyper healing. One gnarly thing I learned is that they have a final protocol for dying Marines. I guess it's just like morphine in World War II. They induce a drug cocktail that will knock out any Marine or Firebat. I guess it's a good thing, because I would not want to be ripped apart by a Zerg. Now, the colonies did have medics beforehand, they just weren't on the front lines, usually staying in the barracks or command center to heal units. We're not talking about StarCraft 2 units today, but I find it really interesting the progression not only of the medic class, but a lot of these Terran units, since there's not just a gameplay reason why they're changing, there are real lore reasons why. One of those lore things is the UED also bringing Valkyries to the colonies, a ship-to-ship combat maestro. Valkyries employ what's called Halo, and again, not that Halo.
Tell that to the Covenant.
God, there can be words that mean two different things. Halo is short for high altitude, long operating cluster rockets. These things love to destroy flying units. With the Valkyrie's firing power comes a downside. They're not very fast, so they rely on their armor to defend themselves, which at times doesn't work. Terran strategists saw that there was a lack of depth with the Valkyrie, and that's why you get the Viking again in StarCraft 2. I don't know if it's that much of an improvement, but it's there. A weapon of mass destruction that didn't need 4 reworks is the battlecruiser, one of the most iconic, if not the iconic unit of StarCraft, but don't quote me on that. Battlecruisers have been around since humans got to the colonies. Outfitted with insane armor and weapon systems, battlecruisers don't always come in the same size. There are different classes of battlecruiser too. Actually, there are like 10 of them, and to save us some time, I'm not going to go through each one. You could do that if you want. But can we take a second here to just revel in all of the awesome backstory and details that just these units have? I mean, I find it quite insane that Blizzard, especially with the Microsoft acquisition, is not making story games or anything based in this universe. It's really a shame, and there is just so much there. I hope it's not just my wishful thinking, hoping for more from this universe. But I digress. Battlecruisers are complex pieces of machinery. Honestly, I felt like I was reading a manual going through their wiki. I love how battlecruisers have 2 warp drives, one if the other fails. It was such a neat detail. Plus, they have the ability just to warp, which probably isn't a good idea since there isn't navigation for that type of travel, and you'd be just stranded somewhere. Let's go back on the ground and focus on the Goliath.
Goliath online.
That's one of my favorite voice lines. Goliaths conceptually are freaking awesome, though they're not as good in the game. Goliaths are mainly comprised of Neosteel, and very good defending against small arms fire and fragmentation grenades. However, the Goliath's cockpit is a little bit more vulnerable to acid, missiles, plasma. If you've ever seen Pacific Rim, it's sort of the same, just with one driver. The driver and the Goliath will link up, and some of the movements actually don't even have to be said. Goliaths come with a ton of firepower, whether it's their anti-air missiles or their 30mm autocannons. Now, I didn't even know this, but Goliaths are almost the longest running military unit in the Terran arsenal. Originally manufactured by Lars Corp, part of the Kelmorian Combine, they were utilized for urban combat, which I can only assume as quelling riots, and not in the good way. Unfortunately, the blueprints for the Goliaths were stolen by the Confederacy and used against the Kelmorian Combine. Our next unit is the Siege Tank, and it is a beast. Siege tanks have 2 modes, Assault and Siege. You probably know the Siege mode. Being mobile but also being able to set up as a autocannon makes the siege tank so useful when defending a location or attacking. And like other Terran units, the siege tank also goes through a lot of different variations. A lot of them though are really technical and talk about the UI of the tank, which we won't get into today. The siege tank is one efficient killer. Inefficient killer is our next unit, the Vulture.
What do you want?
Now, I never liked the Vulture, whether that was because it felt low damage or it just was a little gimmicky back in the day. Something didn't vibe. They are super useful for scouting though, and there's a reason for that. The Vulture uses this gravity hover system that you can't lose traction or speed from, which sounds awesome. Vultures can apparently go up to like 230 miles per hour as well. They also, if upgraded, have spider mines, which are the true damage dealer. Think about this, you just see this thing coming at you 230 miles per hour away, it just stops in front of you, lays spider mines, and then just boom, boom, boom. I would have some questions too. I also would have questions about the design of the Vulture, since it's been recalled a lot and never fixed. The bike can catastrophically fail, whether that's the fuel cell cooling off or it leaking nuclear radiation. Apparently there's not a fix for that. In the grand scheme of things, Vultures fall out of favor due to the Hellion, but are never fully dismissed. Next, we have the last normal Terran unit, the SCV. And yes, I mean normal, because things are about to get a little weird after.
Who set all these lab monkeys free?
The SCV is your bread and butter, hard-working Terran. I love these guys, and they're not a pushover either. If they get the first shot on a Zergling, they're going to kill it.
I told them I was claustrophobic. I gotta get out of here.
SCVs do pretty much everything. Mine minerals, get you gas, repair buildings. Weirdly enough, I couldn't find that much lore on the SCVs, so if you have any information that you think we'd find interesting, let us know. Okay, now we get to the nitty gritty. Let's start with the science vessel.
Excellent.
Excellent.
Now, I didn't know this website existed until halfway through writing this script, but isn't this cool? I guess this is the old battle.net. It was so cool seeing the UI like it was back in '99. I mean, I got a lump in my Adam's apple seeing it. It really brought me back. Not only were the visuals nostalgic, but there was really good writing here too. Listen to this description of a science vessel. Explorer vessels and crew have been recalled to help with the research and production of new military weapon systems and technologies, as well as providing electronic warfare and combat support. Or their blurb for a battlecruiser. The massive Behemoth-class battlecruisers are virtual flying fortresses, built to keep the peace within the Terran sector. The science vessel is an awesome unit in theory, yet I was never good enough to micro them around the battlefield. The science vessel has a bunch of utility spellcasting. They can do a lot of damage if your opponent isn't ready. The science vessel has a defense matrix, which they can target individual units, giving them a shield, or it could deploy an EMP, erasing all shields from Protoss enemies, making them vulnerable to Terran small arm fire and siege tanks. Plus irradiate that damages organic units, and you can stack it. This was also really cool to see that Blizzard gave out tips back in the day. This is a very old internet moment, and I'm here for it. Also, the website helped because I completely forgot about the Wraith and Dropship since I didn't really consider them as units. I have no idea why.
Oh, the best starfighter in the fleet is yours truly.
Wraiths are really cool in concept as well, but another unit that is high in resources and in research. Wraiths are piloted by one person and were utilized to take on actually bigger ships, since Terran strategists realized that you could just do hit and run missions with the Wraiths. Wraiths also have anti-air missiles and a laser for ground targets. But its most important ability is the cloaking device, which allows it to roam undetected unless your enemy scanned your base. The final air unit at the end of Brood War for the Terrans is the Dropship.
In the 5.
Dropships are strong, versatile, and can hold up to 8 Marines, if you're into that kind of stuff.
It's about time.
I joke. The Daredevils truly help the Terran cause. I didn't even know this, but apparently dropships can leave orbit of planets, which I thought was cool since you could just send 8 Marines to a different planet. I don't know why I find that funny. And now we've come to our last unit, and probably the coolest out of the bunch, the Ghost. Ghosts are the special ops of Terran armies. Think about Sam Fisher, but with psionic powers and a lot of trauma issues. Officially, ghosts don't exist, and they're treated sort of like the Baba Yaga or the Boogeyman by normal colonists. Yet for the people in the know, ghosts are a very real and formidable enemy. Operationally, ghosts are there to target facilities they think need nuking. And oh boy, do they nuke it.
Nuclear launch detected.
Or they're used as hitmen. Either way, they're killing something. Now, every Terran born on the colonies has some sort of psionic power, even though most don't show the signs. Successful ghosts are initially gifted with psionic powers, then through the ghost program, which kind of just tortures them. If they survive that, they're pretty much unrivaled. But all that comes at a cost. All that gene splicing really messes with your head, and there's memory erasure. These people just do not remember who they were. Also, the ghosts that do survive don't have a very peachy outlook on life, and sometimes can go rogue. Add on to the fact that they can read minds, and you have a cool concept for a video game. Oh wait.
Let's roll!
Damn it, we were so close.
Oh my god, he's whacked.
Thank you so much for taking the time to listen to something I truly care about. And if you're here, you care about too. I would love to hear your thoughts on the Terran units, who your favorite units were or not favorite. Also, did anything you learned today surprise you? Let me know. I look forward to seeing those comments. Again, thank you so much, and as always, I'll see you next time.